All right, guys. So this is going to be one of our last assignments, actually, because we're really getting down there in the school year. Our seniors, you guys only have literally this week left, or 2 weeks left. So you have this week coming up, and next week, and then that's it. You guys are done with high school. So this is your last assignment that will carry us through the last 2 weeks. It's going to be a project that we're going to do on the respiratory system. Before I get to the project, though, there's some really, really important stuff to point out in terms of dates and deadlines and stuff, because we are kind of getting towards the end of the year. So the first thing is, if you are on Classroom, you'll see somewhere on your Classroom, this is 2As, but regardless of what anatomy block you're in, this assignment should be posted somewhere. It says Google Form for semester grade. This is going to be something that's super, super important for you guys to fill out. It is a Google form that's going to basically choose how you want me to calculate your final grade. If you remember a few weeks ago, we talked about how all of you guys kind of have two options. You have the pass-fail route, where if you pass the class, you pass the class. It won't show whether you got an A or an F, or I'm sorry, an A or a D. It's just going to say you passed. And it will not count towards your GPA. Whereas if you fail, it'll just say an F, and it again won't hurt your GPA. If you choose the letter grade option, that's your second choice, that is where you will have to get an A or a B or a C or a D or whatever. That actual grade will appear, and your grade will calculate into your GPA. I've already talked to a bunch of you guys about what choice I think is better for you, but generally, as a rule of thumb, if you have an A or a B or even a C, anything that's going to help your GPA as well, I would make sure that you choose the letter grade option and submit the form. If you're like failing the class or have like a D and you're really, really struggling, remember this is your semester grade, by the way. If you're failing for semester 2, or you have a D for semester 2, that's when you might want to choose the pass fail option. But again, it's your guys' call. It's up to you. It's whatever you think is best. I am more than happy to talk to you guys in Google Meets or back and forth through email if you still have questions about which one you're going to choose. But just so you guys know, the Google form closes Friday night, May 29th. So please make sure you fill it out by then. If you don't fill it out, we're going to have to choose default letter grade for you. So if you're one of those people that wants to do pass fail and you don't fill out the form by the 29th, there's nothing I can do. Like, it's going to count for a letter grade, unfortunately. So please, 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 please make sure you fill out this form. It's like one of the most important things I posted on Google Classroom all year. So please make sure you do it. It is super and super important that you get it done. And then again, that you do it by Friday. And if you guys have any questions about which system you think is the best for you, please feel free and let me know, and I'll be happy to help you out, okay? So now let's get into the actual project itself. So you guys, like I said, are going to be, your last assignment for the year is going to be doing a project on the respiratory system. It's a project where, very similar to, we did one for skin, where you're going to get to choose what disease or disorder you want. I have a whole list that I'll get to in a second. So for this project, the format is really up to you. It's a little bit trickier, right? Because when we did the skin project, we were at school. So if you wanted to give an oral presentation or a poster, that was really easy. You can just do your poster and bring it in. Obviously, we can't necessarily do that right now. So we'll be really flexible, though, about what kind of project you want to make. A lot of students choose to do medical brochures. If you still want to do a presentation, you could just record yourself and then send it in. Some people have made video PSAs in the past. You can still make a poster if you want on a poster board. Just make sure you take a picture and send it to me. So again, really all those options are still there. You just got to kind of figure out logistically, like, okay, how am I going to turn this into Mr. Surratt? So I listed off a few here in bullets. In terms of the different options that you have, but you can choose any option that's there or something else. If you're like, you know what, I really want to do a song, you can do that. We had my very first year teaching, we had someone do a rap to this, where they filmed a whole rap video or music video to this. You're welcome to do that if you want. It's totally up to you. So what you're going to do is, the first thing is you're going to choose, what is my disease going to be? And what is my project, like the format of my project, going to be? So there's this Google form that's posted on Classroom. So you're going to put in your name, your block, all the normal stuff that we always do. And then you're going to fill out your disease that you want to do. Please try to spell it as close to correct as possible, right? Don't abbreviate things. don't try to spell it without the word in front of you, because there's so many options. I didn't give you guys like a checkboxes or like a checklist because there's so many to choose from. I wanted you to choose your own. So please make sure you spell it as correctly as possible so I know what disease you're talking about. Like if you horrifically spell the word tuberculosis to the point that I can't tell it's tuberculosis, I don't know what disease you're doing. So you're going to choose your disease here. And then again, what format will you do? Are you going to do a brochure, a PSA, a video, oral presentation? And then again, there's others. So if you want to choose something that isn't there, that's fine. Just make sure if you're choosing a disease that maybe isn't on the list that I include, or you're choosing a project that's like kind of far out there and funky, that's fine. Just shoot me an email really quick so that I know and I can kind of expect it, or say, hey, this disease might be kind of hard to do, or don't do this, try this disease instead. That way I can kind of help you out. Okay. So that's the form that you're going to fill out. That's the first thing you're going to do. So that way I know what you're doing. After you've filled out that form, you have a research packet to complete as you work through stuff. So the research packet is really short. It's only 2 pages, okay? And this research packet kind of covers, again, you guys are all seniors for the most part. You all have done, you've done disease projects in my class before, probably in other classes as well. This is to be really straightforward for you guys at this point. But basically, you're going to be putting in all the stuff that I want to see in the rubric. So I'll go to the rubric in a second, but basically everything in the rubric is here. So if you, I always tell this to you guys and to my sophomores who are doing a research project as well, the more time you spend researching and the more time you spend being thorough on this, because I get it, you got 2 weeks left, you're checked out, I understand that. But if you do this really, really quickly and don't pay attention, it's going to make your final project that much harder. Whereas if you spend a lot of time on this and really make sure you research in a lot of good detail, it's going to make making your brochure take like 5 minutes, okay? So you're going to go through and answer the same stuff that we always do in a disease project. What are the symptoms? And make sure you're describing them for full credit. A lot of times, and I'll talk about this in the rubric too, the difference between getting a good score and a great score is like, yeah, you list off the symptoms. That's great. I could also have my 10-year-old cousin do that with, WebMD. The difference is I want you to describe those symptoms, right? So some are obviously self-explanatory, but other symptoms like, if they have redness in the face, why do they have redness in the face or something like that? How is the disease acquired? It could be genetic. Can you catch it? Is it something I could cough and spread to you? Is it something that is on a surface and you touch it? Is it spread through blood? Is it spread through saliva? Does it develop over time? So am I going to get it in a couple weeks? Like, obviously the news on coronavirus, the incubation period for coronavirus is, 0 to 14 days. Whereas certain diseases might take way longer or way less to get you actually sick. And then this part D is really important. This is where, again, you're going to get full credit, is if you can talk about who it's more common in. So is this disease more common in people of color? Is it more common in females? Is it more common in elderly people? For example, coronavirus, we've noted that who gets it is pretty even, but we've noticed in terms of who's dying to the disease tends to be way more elderly people and way more people of color, right? Because they're being exposed to it in a different way. How is it diagnosed? So do you have to take a test? Does a medical doctor have to tell you you have it, or can you just tell, right? Is it hard or easy to diagnose? How fast after getting sick can you be diagnosed? I know we're not doing STDs, but some STDs you have to wait 6-7 weeks to take the test for. Whereas, coronavirus, again, as an example, you can take that after just a few days of exposure. And then treatments and cures, right? So if you can cure it, you can get rid of it. So can I get rid of this virus so I don't ever have it again? Or can I not get rid of it, but treat the symptoms, right? Pneumonia, for example, is something that you can cure. If I have pneumonia, we take antibiotics and I can get rid of pneumonia so I no longer have it, right? Whereas certain respiratory diseases or syndromes like asthma, you can't cure asthma, right? I can't take a pill and then in 2 weeks not have asthma anymore, but I can treat the symptoms so that I breathe easier, can play sports, etc. And then lastly, and this one's worth a lot of points on the rubric as well, is how does this disease affect your respiratory system, right? So is it affecting your larynx? Is it affecting your trachea? Is it affecting your bronchioles? Is it causing something to swell? Is it causing there to be excess mucus, right? Make sure you're really specific here. We did those notes a couple weeks ago about the different parts of the respiratory system. Make sure structures from those notes get included. And last but not least, as always in any research project, you want to make sure you're including sources and citations, right? So, good citations as well. So WebMD or things like that. Please not, Yahoo Answers or Wikipedia or whatever. And lastly, here on the research sheet, you can just include the actual website. That's fine. But in your final project, make sure somewhere you have actual citations. So please don't just copy and paste the URL from here onto your brochure and think you're going to get full credit. That's a 1 out of 3, right? You have to actually take your citation and turn it into a or take your website and turn it into an actual citation. So that's the research project. So again, first thing you're going to do is you're going to choose your disease. You're going to choose the format of your project. Second thing is you're going to start doing your research. And then the dates are all here, and I'll go over those in a second. And all that's left is to actually do your project, right? Okay, I said I was going to make a medical brochure on asthma. I'm going to do all my research so it's all set. And then I'm going to make my medical brochure on asthma and submit it on Google Classroom. Okay, that's pretty much all there is to it. Here's the list of all the different disorders and diseases that I could think of and kind of brainstorm. There are probably more than these. Again, if there's something specific you want to do, that's fine. All of these I kind of made sure have a good amount of information out there. So just make sure if you're choosing a disease not on this list, that it's one of the diseases that's well known, like enough that there's research. As cool as it might be to pick a disease that like only 2 people in the world have ever had, there's probably not a lot of information on that disease if only 2 people have ever had it. And then below it is your rubric, which I kind of already went through in general. All the categories are here. And then all of the different scores are here. So again, if you really thoroughly do your research, you should be getting a 3 on all of these different things. Okay, so make sure you read through this really well. Also notice here where it says weights, not everything is weighed the same. So for example, having your citations on an actual citation page and not just web links is worth way more than if you have pictures. Yes, there should be pictures of some kind or some sort of visual, but like don't focus solely on pictures and then not turn in a works cited, because then you're cutting yourself out on a lot of points, okay? So the research, so the citations, the effects on your system, so like what specific structures are being affected, and symptoms are all worth double points. So I mean, obviously you should be doing the project as well as you can across the board, but if there's 3 places that you really want to put emphasis on, it's going to be those 3 because they're worth twice the weight, okay? So last thing is just dates. So you should be choosing your disease and its format today. All right. So for A day, that's going to be Tuesday, the 26th. And then for B day, you're going to be having, you guys kind of get skipped because Memorial Day. So you're choosing on the day that the project's technically getting released on Google Classroom to you guys is the 28th, which is a Thursday. So you're choosing that day. You should know it shouldn't take very long, 5-10 minutes to choose your disease and choose your project format. Then right away, you should start your research packet. The research packet's going to be due next class. So for A day, for example, you're picking your project on Tuesday, the 26th, and then on Friday, the 29th, your research packet is due. It's only 2 pages. It's not super long. You know, it shouldn't take you that long. And then you have both classes, regardless of A day or B day, you have all of next week to complete the project. Okay, so you have all of next week. The goal is that you get the research done this week. That way you can spend all of next week putting the project together. And again, once you hit submit, that's it. Like as sad as it is to say, that's it for anatomy for you guys. This is the last thing that you're going to be sending in to me for me to look at. Okay, so again, the due date is the 5th. So that's next Friday. That is when the project has to be submitted. For seniors, if you guys, I believe you got an email from Mrs. Durost or somebody, one of the admins should have emailed you guys saying that the 5th is your last day of school. So next Friday is the last day of school for you guys. The week after is a makeup week. We as teachers have to submit grades for you guys pretty early. So I need the absolute last day you can turn in the project for credit is the 10th. So ideally, I would love for you guys to get it to me next Friday. That way you're done. You don't have to worry about it. Anatomy is done for the year. You can focus on having fun and enjoying the summer the best that you can, right? But if you're a little bit behind, I know some of us are still kind of recovering from AP classes, or even maybe in my class are behind a couple assignments, so they're not going to get to this in time. Just make sure I get it by the 10th so you can get credit. If you send it to me the 11th, there's nothing I can do. I've submitted your grade already, okay? So again, make sure first things first that you're completing that form on Google Classroom, letting me know what you want your grade calculated as for semester 2, right? Do you want pass fail or do you want letter grade? Then you should be opening the Google form, choosing your project and its format. just working on your research packet. And then after the research packet is completed, you should work on actually making your final product. Please don't submit final products yet, even if you want to get a jump on it and get it all done in a couple days. I will be next week posting a spot on Classroom for you to turn them in. So please don't turn them in yet, even if it's done. I'll be putting a spot on Classroom for you to turn it in next week. Okay, guys? And this is it. Like I said, this is the last assignment. I'll probably be posting a video at some point next week to go over some last minute stuff and all that. But this is your last assignment. So make sure we do a good job, finish the semester strong. So as always, if you guys have any questions, concerns, issues with, again, either this assignment or what you want your semester grade calculated as, please feel free to always send me a remind text, send me a private comment on Classroom, shoot me an email, whatever works for you guys. Most of you have done a really, really good job about communicating with me while we've been away. I know it's been tough. So other than that, guys, I will see you soon for the last week of school.